आत ऑन म्हणताना ओके थँक्यू हां बागला हाकून Good afternoon, students. Today we'll be starting with the fourth unit, business continuity. So we'll have to see how business continuity is going to play an important role when the data is stored in the data center and you are made to access the data from anywhere around the world. Anytime, anywhere data accessibility is made possible. So therefore, to maintain business continuity is very important. So in this chapter, we'll be able to, what you will be learning in this chapter is define business continuity and information availability. You will be able to detail the impact of information unavailability. If the information is not made available even for few seconds, what is going to happen you will be seeing. Define the business continuity measurement and terminologies. And you will be also describing the business continuity planning process, which is having 5 different steps. So you will be understanding all those 5 different steps here. And then you are going to detail the business continuity technology solutions. So what is business continuity? First, let us understand what is business continuity. Business continuity is preparing for, responding to and recovering from an application outage that adversely affects business operations. So sometimes when you download an application, suppose you have downloaded an application to answer the IA test, that is you need to answer it from the Google Classroom. When you have to answer the test from your Google Classroom, if you are unable to download the question paper in time, you are going to be in loss. So that is going to be the adverse effect of the business operation. So business continuity solutions address unavailability and degraded application performance. So business continuity is an integrated and enterprise-wide process and set of activities to ensure information availability. Basically, the business continuity, what they are going to do is, they are going to see to it that information is made available anytime, anywhere, without any disruption. So continuous access to information is a must for the smooth functioning of business operations today. As the cost of business disruption could be catastrophic, there are many threats to information availability, such as natural disasters, for example, flood, fire, earthquake, unplanned occurrences, for example, cybercrime, human error, network and computer failure, and planned occurrences. There are planned occurrences also, that is, for example, upgrades, backup, restore that result in the inaccessibility of information. It is critical for businesses to define appropriate plans that can help them overcome these crises. Business continuity is an important process to define and implement these plans. Business continuity is an integrated and enterprise-wide process that includes all activities, internal and external to IT, that a business must perform to mitigate the impact of planned and unplanned downtime. Business continuity entails preparing for, responding to, and recovering from a system outage that adversely affects business operations. It involves proactive measures such as business impact analysis and risk management, data protection and security, and reactive countermeasures such as disaster recovery and restart to be invoked in the event of a failure. The goal of business continuity solution is to ensure the information availability required to conduct vital business operations. This chapter describes the factors that affect information availability. It also explains how to create an effective business continuity plan and design fault-tolerant mechanisms to protect against single point of failure. So what is information availability? Very important to know this. Suppose you have designed a website for online shopping. So whenever you have designed a website for online shopping, you might have seen that some of these websites always have some sales announced in the website. As soon as the sale is announced in the website, what everyone tries to do is access this website during those sale days only. Suppose the sale is there for only 3 days, and in these 3 days only millions of people will try to access this website. So at that time, if people are unable to access the website during those 3 days, then that becomes a very important setback for the website if the information is not made available. So we'll have to see what is information availability. Information availability refers to the ability of an infrastructure to function according to business expectations during its specified time of operation. Suppose during these 3 days when the people are trying to access the website, if you have not made it possible for more number of people to access this particular website, then the application is going to be a failure. Therefore, information availability can be defined in terms of 3 parameters: reliability, accessibility and timeliness. So we have to understand what is the meaning of reliability, accessibility and timeliness. So information availability refers to the ability of the infrastructure to function according to business expectations during its specified time of operation. Information availability ensures that people, employees, customers, people means here are going to be employees, customers, suppliers and partners, can access information whenever they need it. Information availability can be defined with the help of reliability, accessibility and timeliness. So let us see what do we mean by reliability. This reflects a component's ability to function without failure, understand understated conditions for a specified amount of time. Accessibility. This is the state within which the required information is accessible at the right place to the right user. The period of time during which the system is in an accessible state is termed system uptime. When it is not accessible, it is termed system downtime. So we'll understand timeliness. So timeliness defines the exact moment or the time window, a particular time of the day, week or month and or year as specified, during which information must be accessible. For example, if online access to an application is required between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. each day, any disruptions to data availability outside of this time slot are not considered to affect timeliness. Suppose this, I can give another example for timeliness. Suppose a question paper has been uploaded in the Google Classroom and you have been given a time that between 10 to 2 you need to access the question paper, answer the question paper and upload the answer. So during this time the information must be made available. You must be able to download the question paper as well as you must be able to upload the answers what you have written. Suppose during this period, that is between 10 to 2, if you are not able to do this, then it will, and if you are unable to access after 2, that is not the problem and that will not be considered as timeliness. Suppose if you are unable to access only between 10 to 2, if you are unable to access, then that will create a timeliness problem. So that is what is told here, defines the exact moment or the time window. So during that time window, you must be able to access the data. If you are unable to access the data during that time window, then that will be a problem of timeliness. So let us see what are the causes of information unavailability. So there are various, we have seen that there are going to be various planned and unplanned incidents result in data unavailability, which can be called now, which incidents can be called as planned outages. So let us see what are planned outages. Planned outages include installation, integration, maintenance of new hardware, software upgrades or patches, taking backups, application and data restores, facility operations, renovation and construction, and refresh or migration of the testing to the production environment. So now let us see what are unplanned outages. Unplanned outages include failure caused by database corruption, component failure and human errors. These are all unplanned outages. You never come to know when the component will fail or when the database will get corrupted. So these will cause unplanned outages. So another type of incident that may cause data unavailability is natural or man-made disasters such as flood, fire, earthquake and contamination, or some cyber crimes may happen because of which the data will be made not available. So you can see that causes of information unavailability are disaster, unplanned outages and planned outages. So you can see that disaster is less than 1% of occurrences. Now what are these disasters? Disasters are natural or man-made. Flood, fire, earthquake are all natural disasters. Contaminated building is a man-made disaster. So unplanned outages. So we can say that the disasters which are occurring just less than 1%, but whereas the unplanned outages are 20% of the time it is unplanned outages where the data is made unavailable. It can be failure, database corruption, component failure or human error. So these are all unplanned outages. Now planned outages, the data will be made unavailable 80% of the time due to planned outages. Which are these planned outages? Computing workloads, backup reporting, data warehouse extracts, application and data restore. These are all going to be called as planned outages. So when they have to maintain the backup of the data, so during that time, that will be the planned outage. The system has to be shut down for some time when the backup is being taken, and then data warehouse extract, application and data restore. These are all planned outages, and planned outages are for more than 80% of the time. The data is made unavailable due to planned outages only. Otherwise, unplanned outages, the data is made unavailable just 20% of the time, and disaster is just less than 1%. So we have seen in the previous figure, the majority of outages are planned outages are expected and scheduled, but still cause data to be unavailable. Statistically, less than 1% is likely to be the result of an unforeseen disaster. How are we going to measuring information availability? So the information availability is measured in terms of MTBF and MTTR. So MTBF is average time available for a system or component to perform its normal operations between failures, and MTTR is average time required to repair a failed component. So that is information availability is equal to MTBF divided by MTBF plus MTTR. That is, information availability can be also calculated if you know the uptime and downtime of the system. So uptime divided by uptime plus downtime is the information availability. Measuring information availability. How are you going to measure the information availability? Information availability relies on the availability of the hardware and software components of a data center. Failure of these components might disrupt information availability. A failure is the termination of a component's ability to perform a required function. What do we mean by failure? Failure is the termination of a component's ability to perform the required function. The component's ability can be restored by performing an external corrective action such as a manual reboot, a repair or replacement of the failed component. Repair involves restoring a component to a condition that enables it to perform a required function within a specified time by using procedures and resources. So, measuring information availability, proactive risk analysis performed as part of the business continuity planning process considers the component failure rate and average repair time, which are measured by MTBF and MTTR. So, when we are going to plan for the business continuity process, during that time only this failure rate and average repair time are going to be measured. And then what do we mean by MTBF and MTTR? MTBF is mean time between failure. So, it is the average time available for a system or component to perform its normal operations between failures. Mean time to repair, that is MTTR. It is the average time required to repair a failed component. So, while calculating MTTR, it is assumed that the fault responsible for the failure is correctly identified and that the required spares and personnel are available. Note that fault is a physical defect. Fault means it is always going to be considered as the physical defect only of the component. At the component level, which may result in data unavailability. So, MTTR includes the time required to do the following: detect the fault, mobilize the maintenance team, diagnose the fault, then obtain the spare parts, repair, test and resume normal operations. So, what all MTTR includes is detect the fault. First, you must be able to detect the fault, then you must be able to mobilize the maintenance team, then you will have to diagnose the fault. First, you come to know that where the fault has occurred, and then you have to diagnose, that is how much fault has occurred, then obtain the spare parts. You need to obtain the spare parts or you need to repair the fault that has occurred, and then you must be able to test and resume the normal operations. So, information availability is a fraction of a time period that a system is in a condition to perform its intended function upon demand. It can be expressed in terms of system uptime and downtime and measured as the amount of percentage of system uptime. So, information availability can be calculated using system uptime divided by system uptime plus system downtime. So, this is very important. You must know how to calculate the information availability. So, in terms of MTBF and MTTR, suppose if you know the value of MTBF and MTTR, IA could also be expressed as information availability equal to MTBF divided by MTBF plus MTTR. So, uptime per year is based on the exact timeliness requirements of the service. This calculation leads to the number of nines representation for availability matrix. Always availability of the data is given in form of number of nines, whether you have availability as 5 nines, 4 nines or 3 nines. Depending on that, the charging will be made for the data storage by the data center. So, it is always availability is calculated in the number of nines always. So, now we have a table which lists the approximate amount of downtime allowed for a service to achieve certain levels of nines availability. For example, a service that is said to be 5 nines available is available for 99.999. So when it says that availability is 99.999, then the percent of the scheduled time in the year, that is 24/7 by 36 if you consider, for how much time the data will be made unavailable, that we'll have to see in case of 99.999%. When you pay the amount for this 99.999% of availability, then the data must be made available all the time, that is 24/7, 365 days, so that we will see how much the data may not be unavailable. So availability measurement is in the form of level of nines. So so if you see 99.999, it is the percentage downtime will be 0.001%, and per year the downtime will be just 5 minutes, 5.25 minutes, and the downtime per week will be just 6 seconds. So total downtime what will be there is 5.25 minutes, that is including planned and unplanned outages, whatever it is going to be there in the data center. Altogether you will not be made available, the data will not be made available for only 5.25 minutes of the year. So that is, it may be due to some disaster only, natural disaster which cannot be predicted. So you can see that when it is just single nine, if it is 98% uptime, the downtime will be 2%, that is downtime per year is 7.3 days, and downtime per week will be 3 hours 22 minutes. So you cannot, when the application is going to be very critical, you cannot go for a uptime of only 98% or 99%. When it is very critical, you have to go for at least minimum 5 nines, and maximum is up to 6 nines. Now they are trying to go up to 7 nines also, but still it is not. But 7 nines is practically not possible, but still the research work is going on in this particular field, wherein the availability needs to be increased, and you need to give it as 100% itself, and wherein some are unplanned outages which cannot be avoided. That's why we are falling short. We are not able to go ahead than this 6 9. The work is going on and the research work is still going on in this field to increase the availability. Usually these applications are going to be placed in the cloud, and these all cloud applications are going to always sign for this number of nines, that is the availability which is going to be there in the master service level agreement. So in the service level agreement they will sign for this number of nines as the availability measure. Impact of downtime, let us see. When there is some downtime, what happens is the productivity will be lost, and then you will lose the revenue, that is direct loss or compensatory payment. Then the loss, future revenue, billing losses, investment losses, all these can be called as the losses, lost revenue. And you can damage the reputation of the company. If the downtime occurs more in the company, then that is going to damage the reputation of the company, wherein the customers will be reduced, and the suppliers to that company also will think whether to supply to this company or no, because the payments may not be made. So therefore financial markets, then the banks, business partners, everyone will think of whether to be associated with the company or no. Then the financial performance of the company will go low, get reduced, that is revenue recognition, cash flow, loss discounts, payment guarantees, credit rating, and stock price also will fall down of the company, which will affect the performance of the company. So other expenses are temporary employees, equipment, because what happens is the people are going to be hired, so you need to pay for them, that is temporary employees, equipment rental, overtime costs, extra shipping costs, travel expenses. These are all going to be your other expenses and during that downtime also you have got all these people to work for the company and you need to pay them and you need to spend money for all that. You cannot say that the data is not available and the downtime has increased and we won't be able to pay you. That is not possible. So this is going to be the impact of downtime on the company or the business. Consequences of downtime. Data unavailability or downtime results in loss of productivity, loss of revenue, poor financial performance and damages to reputation. So loss of productivity reduces the output per unit of labor, equipment and capital. Loss of revenue includes direct loss, compensatory payments, future revenue losses, billing losses and investment losses. Poor financial performance affects revenue. Definitely it's going to affect the revenue, poor financial performance. In continuation, what will be the effect of downtime? Recognition, cash flow discounts, payment guarantees, credit rating and stock price. Damages to reputation may result in a loss of confidence or credibility with customers, suppliers, financial markets, banks and business partners. Other possible consequences of downtime include the cost of additional equipment, rental, overtime and extra shipping. The business impact of downtime is the sum of all losses sustained as a result of a given disruption. An important metric, average cost of downtime per hour, provides a key estimate in determining the appropriate business continuity solution. So it is calculated as follows. Average cost of downtime per hour is equal to average productivity loss per hour plus average revenue loss per hour. Where, what do we mean by productivity loss? Productivity loss per hour can be calculated as total salaries and benefits of all employees per week divided by average number of working hours per week. Average revenue loss per hour is equal to total revenue of an organization per week divided by average number of hours per week that an organization is open for business. The average downtime cost per hour may also include estimates of projected revenue loss due to other consequences such as damaged reputations and the additional cost of repairing the system. So impact of downtime, average cost of downtime per hour is equal to average productivity loss per hour plus average revenue loss per hour. So let us just see. Average cost of downtime per hour, average cost of downtime per hour is equal to average productivity loss per hour, average productivity loss per hour plus average revenue loss per hour. Average revenue loss per hour. So average cost of downtime per hour is always equal to average productivity loss per hour plus average revenue loss per hour. So now we have to see what is average productivity loss. So average productivity loss per hour is equal to total salaries and benefits of all employees per week divided by average number of working hours per week. And average revenue loss per hour is total revenue of an organization per week divided by the average number of hours per week that an organization is open for business. So therefore, for the average working hours of an organization are very important to reduce the average revenue loss per year, per hour. So what are business continuity terminologies? This section introduces and defines common terms related to business continuity operations and are used in the next few chapters to explain advanced concepts. So disaster, first we should know with respect to business continuity, what is disaster recovery? This is the coordinated process of restoring systems, data and the infrastructure required to support key ongoing business operations in the event of a disaster. It is the process of restoring a previous copy of the data and applying logs or other necessary processes to that copy to bring it to a known point of consistency. Once all recoveries are completed, the data is validated to ensure that it is correct. So we have seen what is disaster recovery, then we should know what is disaster restart. This is the process of restarting business operations with mirrored consistent copies of data and application. What is mirrored copy of data and application? So we should also see what do we mean by recovery point objective. This is the point in time to which systems and data must be recovered after an outage. It defines the amount of data loss that a business can endure. A large recovery point objective. So how much data loss a business can endure? That is very important. A large RPO signifies high tolerance of information loss in a business. Based on the RPO, organizations plan for the minimum frequency with which a backup or replica must be made. For example, if the RPO is 6 hours, backups or replicas must be made at least once in 6 hours. So figure 11.2 shows various RPOs and their corresponding ideal recovery. So if the RPO is large, it is always better for the organization. Otherwise, what happens if the RPO is small, then you need to maintain the backups and replicas of that particular data for more frequently. Whereas if it is more large RPO, if it is large, then the backup and replicas will be maintained less frequently. So let us see what is going to be the impact of different RPOs. So recovery point objective, point in time to which systems and data must be recovered after an outage, then amount of data loss that a business can endure. So you must be able to differentiate between these two, that is recovery point objective and recovery time objective. So recovery point objective is the amount of data loss that a business can endure, whereas recovery time objective is amount of downtime that a business can endure and survive. So that is the difference between RPO and RTO. That is the data loss which the business can endure and the downtime that a business can endure. So what do we mean by recovery time objective? Time within which systems, applications or functions must be recovered after an outage. So business continuity terminologies. What are the business continuity terminologies and strategies? An organization can plan for an appropriate business continuity technology solution on the basis of the RPO it sets. For example, if the RPO of 24 hours is set, this ensures that backups are created on an offsite tape drive every midnight. The corresponding recovery strategy is to restore data from the set of last backup tapes. So RPO of 1 hour, this ships database logs to the remote site every hour. The corresponding recovery strategy is to recover the database at the point of the last log shipment. RPO of 0, this mirrors mission critical data synchronously to a remote site. So when the RPO, if the RPO value is 0, then continuously the copying has to continue. So what they do is this will mirror all the mission critical data synchronously to a remote site. All entire data needs to be maintained in a replica of the data needs to be maintained when the RPO is 0. When it is RPO is 1, it can be done every hour. The copying can be done every hour. Recovery time objective, that is RTO. The time within which systems, applications or functions must be recovered after an outage. It defines the amount of downtime that a business can endure and survive. Businesses can optimize disaster recovery plans after defining the RTO for a given data center or network. For example, if the RTO is 2 hours, then use a disk backup because it enables a faster restore than a tape backup. However, for an RTO of 1 week, tape backup will likely meet requirements. So we know that disk is going to be costlier than tape. So whenever the RTO is of 1 week, then you can use the tape backup. But whereas if the RTO is of only 2 hours, then you have to go for the disk backup. So therefore, there has to be a you have to balance between the cost and the time. So some examples of RTOs and the recovery strategies to ensure data availability are listed below. Some examples of RTOs and the recovery strategies to ensure data availability. So let us see what are these. Disaster recovery and disaster restart, you must be able to know, or these are the two terminologies of business continuity. Disaster recovery, coordinated process of restoring systems, data and infrastructure required to support ongoing business operations in the event of a disaster, and then restoring previous copy of data and applying logs to that copy to bring it to a known point of consistency. Generally implies use of backup technology. Disaster recovery. So whenever the disaster occurs, whatever data you have lost, you must be able to come back to that point of consistency. So therefore, generally it implies the use of backup technology. Then disaster restart. Process of restarting from disaster using mirrored consistent copies of data and applications. Generally implies use of replication technology. So these two things will, the backup technology and replication technology will be studying in detail in the next chapter or in the next class. So now let us see what are the different RTOs. If the RTO of 72 hours, restore from backup tapes at a cold site. If the RTO is of 12 hours, restore from tapes at a hot site. RTO of 4 hours, use a data vault to a hot site. So RTO of 1 hour, cluster production servers with controller bare disk mirroring. RTO of few seconds, then cluster production server with bidirectional mirroring, enabling the applications to run at both sites simultaneously, because the particular application cannot sustain a RTO of more than few seconds. So therefore, it has to be always continuously, the data needs to be backup or replicated. That is why it is called as, it is going to be bidirectional mirroring, enabling the applications to run at both sites simultaneously. If the application is running at both the sites, at least if one goes down, you can get it from the other side. So therefore, continuously it is going to be copied on the other side. So those are all mission critical applications where the RTO is of few seconds only. So business continuity planning life cycle. This planning life cycle has 5 important steps which we'll be understanding one by one in detail. So let us see what are these 5 steps. So business planning, continuity planning must follow a disciplined approach like any other planning process. Organizations today dedicate specialized resources to develop and maintain business continuity plans. From the conceptualization to the realization of the business continuity plan, a life cycle of activities can be defined for the business continuity process. The business continuity planning life cycle includes 5 stages. The 5 stages are establishing objectives, analyzing, designing and developing, then implementing. And the last is training, testing, assessing and maintaining. So let us see what do we mean by establishing objectives. Then what is done in analyzing phase. We'll be seeing one by one in detail. Several activities are performed at each stage of the business continuity planning life cycle, including the following key activities. Establishing objectives. In establishing objectives, we determine the continuity requirements, then estimate the scope and budget of achieved requirements, then select a continuity team by considering subject matter experts from all areas of the business, whether internal or external, because when it depends on the business, because suppose now if you have some retail business, if you are selling, then you must know how which type of products are going to be sold more in which season. All this is very important. So for that you need the subject matter experts from all areas of the business, whether they are internal or external. You have to create the continuity policies. Analyzing. Collect information on data profiles, business processes, infrastructure support, dependencies and frequency of using business infrastructure. You need to identify critical business needs and assign recovery priorities. Create a risk analysis for critical areas and mitigation strategies. Conduct a business impact analysis. Then create a cost and benefit analysis based on the consequences of data unavailability. Evaluate the options. Designing and developing. So in designing and developing phase, what will you do? Designing and developing, define the team structure and assign individual roles and responsibilities. For example, different teams are formed for activities such as emergency response, damage assessment and infrastructure and application recovery. Design data protection strategies and develop infrastructure. Develop contingency scenarios. Develop emergency response procedures. Detail recovery and restart procedures. You must also think of recovery and restart procedures whenever a disaster occurs. Then the third phase is the implementing. Implement risk management and mitigation procedures that include backup, replication and management of resources. Prepare the disaster recovery sites that can be utilized if a disaster affects the primary data center. Implement redundancy for every resource in a data center to avoid single point of failure. So that is very important to identify single point of failure in the data center, and you have to also see to it that you will have some other alternative solution to avoid this single point of failure. Training, testing, assessing and maintaining. So you need to train the employees who are responsible for backup and replication of business critical data on a regular basis or whenever there is a modification in the continuity plan. Then you need to train employees on emergency response procedures when disasters are declared. Train the recovery team on recovery procedures based on contingency scenarios. Then you need to perform damage assessment processes and review recovery plans. Test the business continuity plan regularly to evaluate its performance and identify its limitations. Assess the performance reports and identify limitations. Update the business continuity plans and recovery restart procedures to reflect regular changes within the data center. Failure analysis. Failure analysis involves analyzing the data center to identify systems that are susceptible to a single point of failure and implementing fault tolerance mechanisms such as redundancy. What do we mean by single point of failure? A single point of failure refers to the failure of a component that can terminate the availability of the entire system of IT services. The figure next will illustrate the possibility of a single point of failure in a system with various components: server, network, switch, and storage array. The figure depicts the system setup in which an application running on the server provides an interface to the client and performs I/O operations. The client is connected to the server through an IP network. So there we should see the server is connected to the storage array through a FC connection. An HBA installed at the server sends or receives data to and from a storage array, and an FC switch connects the HBA to the storage port. In a